Thanks for joining me again. This week, we saw residents come down to the County Council to call for full funding of the Montgomery County Public Schools. I appreciate that turnout because it reflects a clear understanding of what's happening right now and what's at stake. This year's revenue projections are lower by almost half than the increase that was projected. We still have an increase, just not as much. I think most people know that Maryland and Montgomery County have been especially targeted by Trump. It has had a negative impact on employment and business conditions across the entire DC area. He has been pretty straightforward about what he's doing, financing massive tax cuts for the wealthy by abandoning programs and shifting responsibilities to the states and counties. It should not be surprising that the burden on us and the state has increased, and it puts all of us in a situation of funding our needs or walking away from them. And walking away is exactly what Trump wants us to do. If you listen closely to him, you'll hear that what he wants is to use this war to justify not spending on services that help people.
And I actually said to them, I said to Russell, don't send any money for daycare because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it, too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up, but it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection. We have to guard the country. But all these little things, all these little scams that have taken place, you have to let states take care of them, Russell.
While Trump's comments are both appalling and immoral, they're also our reality. The feds are pulling back from investments in education, healthcare, and the kinds of services that people rely on every day. When that happens, the needs don't go away. They don't shrink. In fact, they are increasing. They don't get easier to manage. They just get pushed down. They land on states, they land on counties, they land on school systems, and ultimately they land on families who are trying to navigate rising costs and certain job conditions and fewer supports. And these needs are going to increase. So when I talk about Montgomery County being a fail-safe, that's what I mean. If higher levels of government decide not to meet these needs, then the responsibility shifts to us. We can either respond to that reality or ignore it. Ignoring it doesn't make the problem smaller, it just means more people feel the impact more directly. That's the context for this budget. We also have to realize that we're living in a K economy. If you aren't familiar with the economic concept, it essentially means that the rich are getting richer while the working people are getting poorer. And the policies of Trump and the congressional Republicans is to continue to reward those in the upward part of the K on the backs of programs and services that help those in the downward part of the K. For most taxpayers, the federal tax reductions will exceed the revenue enhancements that we've proposed, outlined in the recommended budget. For many, it exceeds the cost by many thousands of dollars in terms of the additional benefit they're getting from the tax cuts. I made the decision recommending full funding of the Board of Education's request because the needs have been building for a long time. If you look at our per pupil spending and adjust for inflation, we still haven't gotten back quite to where we were before the Great Recession. That's not a small gap. That's 15 years of operating below a previous standard while student needs have become more complex. We have more students who need additional support. We have higher expectations placed on schools, and at the same time, we're asking educators to do more, and we're asking the system to respond to the challenges that didn't exist in the same way a decade and a half ago. At the same point, you have to stop pretending that you can somehow keep stretching resources indefinitely without consequences. There's also a time factor that doesn't get enough attention. Students move through the system. They don't wait for us to figure things out. If we delay investments, if we decide to come back to this in a few years, the students who needed those resources now are already past that point. You don't get a redo on those years, and that is especially true for early childhood education. Kids who do not leave kindergarten ready to learn very rarely catch up with their peers who are ready to learn. That's why I've pushed consistently to get our per pupil funding back to where it was. This budget makes real progress toward that goal. A significant portion of the increase goes to the negotiated compensation agreements. It's not incidental. If you want a strong school system, you need to be able to recruit and retain experienced educators and staff. The region is competitive. State law, the blueprint, has required all jurisdictions to reach a common benchmark on teacher salaries, and Montgomery County is above that benchmark. Other jurisdictions are offering compensation that reflects that reality. If we're going to attract people, we need to have pay levels that allow them to live here. If we don't keep up, we will lose people to other jurisdictions where the pay is similar, but the cost of living is less. When we lose experienced teachers, we lose stability in our classrooms, and that shows up in student outcomes. We also put additional funding into special education, and that's an area where both the human impact and the financial impact are pretty clear. When we don't have the capacity to serve our students within our own system, we place them in private programs that cost significantly more, significantly to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars more. We still pay for those placements, so we end up spending more money while having less control over how services are delivered. Dr. Taylor has talked about this, and I agree with him. We need to build the capacity inside MCPS. That is better for students, and it's more responsible way to manage our resources over time. Now I want to address something that keeps coming up in these discussions, which is the idea that we simply need to live within our means. That phrase sounds so lovely and straightforward, but it avoids the real question. Who decides what our means are? Montgomery County has one of the lower property tax rates in this region. In fact, the only jurisdiction with lower property taxes in our region is the District of Columbia. I'll return to that. When you compare us to Frederick County, Howard County, Fairfax County, and Prince George's County, you see jurisdictions that have made very different decisions about how to fund their priorities. The taxes in Frederick County are $1.11. The taxes in Howard County are $1.34. In Prince George's County, $1.36. In Fairfax County, $1.15, but for commercial property, $1.27. Every one of those counties has a higher property tax than ours. Every county taxes commercial real estate higher than we do. Every county around us has raised the means to address the needs of their community. And said I would get back to DC. DC has the lowest residential tax rate, even lower than ours. Their rate is 85 cents. But here's why their rate is lower. Their commercial tax rate starts at $1.66 for properties worth $2 to $5 million. It goes to $1.77 if the property is worth $5 to $10 million, and it goes to $1.89 if the property is worth more than $10 million. That is an enormous amount of revenue coming from the private sector. Montgomery County has nothing like it. Our taxes right now are $1.03 on commercial property. So when someone says we need to live within our means, what they're really saying is that they have a different definition of what we should be willing to fund. That's a policy choice. It's not a means choice. We have chosen historically to keep our tax rates lower than some of our neighbors. At the same time, we expect high-performing schools, strong infrastructure, and a wide range of services. We're not able to deliver all this stuff. At some point, you have to recognize those expectations with the resources required to actually meet them. I've been clear that if we're going to generate additional revenue, we should do it in a way that's more progressive and more aligned with people's ability to pay. I've supported a progressive income tax that is not uniform across all income groups. And I've repeatedly proposed that we adopt Virginia's property tax structure that has a significant tax differential between residential property and commercial property, and where they use those revenues to build infrastructure that drove their economic growth over the last decade and a half. We actually had legislation in the legislature that would give the counties, all the counties, the ability to have a differential tax rate. And when I asked legislators, because this bill passed the House, why we couldn't get it through the Senate, I was told because our county council doesn't support it. Those ideas are not new. They've been discussed for a long time. They offer a way to be more targeted and equitable in how we raise revenue. They would allow us to actually raise what we need for the first time in decades. At the same time, I want to be clear, and I want to clear up a point that has been mischaracterized. There was a comment by one of the council members suggesting that we're using our reserve funds to fund this budget and that somehow that's irresponsible. That is not accurate. Let me be clear. That's not what we're doing. We are not drawing down our reserves. We are using surpluses above our reserve targets, funds that exceed what we're required to hold to maintain our physical stability and our AAA bond rating. There's a big difference and it matters. We've worked hard to build those reserves and we've done it responsibly. In my first budget year as county executive, I inherited a county government that was running deficits, and we had to make drastic cuts in that year's budgets before July. And those cuts went into the next year's budget as well. We turned around and we've met our 10% recommended reserve goal. And we've performed so well in maintaining reserves that we've generated a surplus above the 10% goal. We've been as high as 17% reserves in some years. And it's this surplus portion that we're using to address urgent needs like education. This isn't insane, as the council member said. It's reasonable and a prudent decision. We've used the surplus to address needs that weren't addressed in the budget, and the council has drawn them down to balance the budget even more than we had proposed in the past. Using a portion of that surplus to address urgent needs is a measured decision. It reflects the reality that there are moments when holding on to excess funds while deferring necessary investments does not make sense. And it's interesting that certain council members are fixated on tax rates, but have absolutely no problem with lowering and exempting commercial property from taxation. So we're not so broke that we can't give away millions of dollars to the developers while everyone else has to tighten their belts. So the conversation we should be having is not about abstract ideas of means. It should be about what we need. This budget reflects those choices. I encourage you to continue to monitor and engage with this conversation. This week, WorkSource Montgomery hosted their third annual Fair Chance Symposium, a job fair for former inmates seeking employment. April is Second Chance Month, a time to recognize the challenges people face under returning from the criminal justice system and to highlight the importance of employment and successful reentry. WorkSource Montgomery supports this effort through programs that help returning citizens build skills, find jobs, and access community resources. The event brought together employers, partners, and community organizations to connect job seekers with training, employment opportunities, and reentry support. That help includes entrepreneurship training led by local business leaders, financial literacy workshops in partnership with SECU, peer support and mental health training through Give an Hour, and entrepreneurship programs offered by correctional facilities and reentry centers. Ongoing post-relief support through the Justice Empowerment Center in the Wheaton office, which offers job readiness services, training, peer support, and connections to fair chance employers. We had over 50 companies and organizations at the job fair, and I want to thank those leaders for the willingness to hire individuals who made mistakes in the past. Finding employment in this job market is tough enough. Having a criminal record can reduce the likelihood of a job callback by roughly 50% to over 60%. This is also an important part of our mission within the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. We invest the money in 3 years ago to reopen our Sweet Release Bakery program, and I propose to continue funding it in our FY27 budget. This program is providing its participants with marketable skills that has led to job opportunities in our community. And WorkSource Montgomery has a satellite office in the pre-release center and a one-stop shop at the detention center in Clarksburg. These efforts and programs help reduce recidivism. Here's a scary statistic from the Prison Policy Initiative. Roughly 1 in 4 people who go to local jails return within a year, while approximately 62% of people released from state prisons are rearrested within 3 years, and 39% are reincarcerated. Within 5 years, that reincarceration rate can increase to over 60%, with higher rates for men and for those under 21. When someone's incarcerated, it costs all of us more. In Maryland, it costs about $5,000 a month to house an incarcerated individual. That's $60,000 per year. We have better ways to spend that money if we can keep people out of jail. That is nearly twice the amount it costs to attend the University of Maryland. This is an important effort, and I appreciate the work that WorkSource Montgomery and our Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation are doing on this front. You can learn more at montgomerycountymd.gov/COR, or you can go to worksourcemontgomery.com. So I have something exciting to talk about, for some people anyway. Our Alcohol Beverages Services, or ABS, is once again opening registration for its annual whiskey lotteries. This is one of the ways we try to ensure residents have a fair opportunity to purchase some of the rarest and most sought-after bottles. For some of our residents, this is probably the most exciting government program we run. This year, we'll have more than 900 limited availability bottles, including some that are not shelved. There are 2 lotteries. One is open to all Maryland residents who are 21 and over. The second is just for Montgomery County residents, and if you live here, you're eligible to enter both. Residents will have only a week to enter. Registration opens on 12 a.m. on Sunday, April 12th, and it closes on Saturday, April 18th. It's free and it's easy to sign up. Just make sure you meet the residency requirements. After registration closes, winners will be selected at random and the results will be posted online at noon on April 22nd. If you're selected, you'll be able to purchase your bottle at a designated ABS store between April 25th and May 23rd. We try to run this lottery in a way that's transparent and fair for everyone. So if you're interested, I encourage you to sign up. Lottery registrants can indicate their top choices from the list of bottles available. Details on how to enter the lottery, including registration forms, are available on the ABS website. ABS is a very unique system in Montgomery County. It is not replicated by our neighbors. ABS manages alcohol licensing, enforcement, and education for more than 1,000 county businesses. It generates more than $35 million in net income annually. Its profits are used to pay down county debt, with a large portion deposited in the general fund to pay for resident services that would otherwise be funded by county tax dollars. ABS employees are also county employees, paid well and receiving benefits. I think the system works very well, and I've been a consistent supporter. Every election year, someone generally brings up the idea that we need to end the system and let the private sector take over. That's a bad idea and a bad deal for our county taxpayers. This week, I joined the County Council in honoring Arab American Heritage Month. Arab Americans are an important part of our community because they help make this county what it is every day. I was reminded of this several times over the past month when I attended iftars across our community marking Ramadan, an important time of renewal across Muslim communities. Not all Arab Americans are Muslim, though. We have many faith communities represented here: Christian, Jewish, Druze, Yazidis, Baha'is, as well as atheists. That's why recognizing Arab American Heritage Month matters. It's a chance to acknowledge the diversity within the Arab American community, as well as the real contributions Arab American residents have made to our economy, our culture, and our civic life. And this moment's especially important. I know that many in the Arab American community are dealing with pain and anxiety over events around the world and uncertainty about federal policies here at home. That's why we've signed and passed into law the Trust Act to help keep our immigrant communities in the county feeling safer. This has got to be an incredibly difficult time for anyone with loved ones in harm's way. I share your concerns, and I wish this thing ends as quickly as possible because it's just a tragic waste of human life. The county is dedicated to promoting education and awareness of diverse cultures, addressing misinformation, stereotypes, and fostering dialogue and relationship building across communities. We're committed to supporting respectful communication, upholding dignity and shared humanity, and creating meaningful opportunities for cultural exchange and visibility. Our schools and public institutions will continue working toward more inclusive environments by expanding access to resources, supporting cultural understanding, and ensuring welcoming spaces for all students. We also encourage greater civic engagement and broad participation in policymaking, while advancing policies that reduce discrimination and elevate community voices. Through collaboration, partnership, and shared initiatives, we remain committed to building communities where every resident feels seen, supported, and included. Montgomery County will always stand with you. We've worked hard to build a county where everyone feels they belong. That work will continue every day, no matter how those in Washington, D.C. or the White House feel about it. Because our diversity isn't just something we talk about, it's something that makes us stronger. Our Gilchrist Immigration Resource Center is there to help you find information and services you may need. Call our information and referral line at 240-777-4940, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., or you can visit us online at montgomerycountymd.gov/Gilchrist. That's Gilchrist. That's all for now. I hope the weather gets warmer again, but not too warm, because that was summer-like. This weekend, we're looking forward to better. We had quite a week this week, and hope you're able to get outside and enjoy it. I'll be back again with another update next week.